Well, good morning everyone. So the last of my PK arrived today. There's 12 tonne in there. And I've got the drill turning up soon because I am doing some more planting. We're putting permanent into the chicory paddock, or a couple of them. No, it's only one of them actually. And I'm also going to drill those two paddocks just there on the hill, which are next year's maize paddocks. I'll explain that in a little bit, but the cows are over there. I put them in there this morning. They'd been there about a week ago, but I've just put them in there to clean up whatever's sort of growing, and they haven't really made their way into this bottom paddock. So once they get in there, then I will move them. They've actually got another paddock just over here for today. But I think Curtis is coming in the horse drill again, so he shouldn't be too far away, but it's going to be a little bit slow because they've got 3 different seed types going in. So he's going to have to calibrate 3 times, which doesn't really affect me, but it's just a little bit slow going for him. Just going to come and set some gates up for him. So when he comes in, he can come straight through. But this is the paddock of annual, so I've got to go through here. And it is looking good. It's looking green. See all the maize seed that was left behind. But it's actually not looking too bad considering that this hasn't had any rain on it since planting. So yeah, once it gets a bit of water, which I don't know when that'll be, it'll boost away, it'll jump out of the ground. Still a wee way off grazing with the cows though. And now I need to swap this motorbike for the gator. Right, so this is what we want. We need 2 bags of this, although there's some here I think too. I'll use that up first. Yep. Right, so that's all my seed sorted, plus he's going to bring some Dominate, which I usually get from Finch's. It's just that untreated annual. So, all sorted. And then while I'm waiting, YouTube things. Charging GoPro batteries. Well, that's on. Here's Nell, she needs breakfast. Hey Nell, she's getting bigger I reckon. Hey, good girl. Yummy, look at that. Weetabix for breakfast. Hey big dog. Sit. She gotta sit before she has it. Sit. Here now. Good dog. Curtis is just leaving the yard now, so I'll go and show him where to go. It'll only be a minute. And then once I get him started, I'll go and shift these cows. They look like they can be moved. This gateway's a bit tight, plus I need to put a culvert in here. Dad's never done it, but there's a real big bump and sort of sort all that out because the water runs down there, but should get round hopefully. Had other tractors through there. Oh, easy as. Need to prune that tree. And this is another gateway I'd like to fix. So he's got to come in at an angle, why not just put a gateway there? It'd make it so much easier. Eventually we'll get there. At least it's wide. And that drill's narrower than the tractor, I think. Good morning, Curtis. How are you?
Good, yourself?
Hey, do you reckon you could do one thing? Could you drop those disc things and just run them through this ridge here? There used to be a fence there.
Yeah.
Would it smoothen it out at all? Just one pass and then you just drill over it, I guess. Yeah.
No.
That'd be awesome. We'll start in here. So, have you got that? What is it? Dominate. Have you got a bag of that? Yeah. Please, just this one's going to go into that Dominate at 30. I think it's 0.8 of a hectare. And then it's perennial, and then we're doing Winter Star. So a bit of everything today. This is just calibrating. So 3.7 kilos worth of seed. So this is that stuff that's not treated. Just this annual from down south. Dominate, it's called. He's only got a bag with him, which is 25 kilos. This paddock is 0.8. So instead of drilling at 30 kilos to the hectare, because then he'd only have sort of a kilo extra for that overlap, we're going to drill at 28, which just gives them a little bit more room. Dad sprayed this paddock out probably about a week ago, and you can start seeing it change its colour. So it's sort of dying. It's alright if some of this chicory doesn't, because it'll just grow through the annual, and it'll look, or the cows will still eat it during the winter. Well, that does slow down this stuff, it goes pretty dormant. And that's why we don't carry it through. So I'm going to put an annual in here, because next year this is going to go back into chicory. So the reason I'm sort of doing it through, or putting an annual through the winter, is because you can get about, if it's a good sort of nice warm winter, you can sort of get sort of 6 tonnes of growth from now through till say October when you put the chicory back in. So that's the reason I'm doing it, just extra feed. It's just that old fence line, and that looks like it's actually tied it up pretty well. So now you just drill over it. Sweet as. Just thinking I might maybe next year, instead of direct drilling this, sort of do it with a rotor spike, which is sort of like a one pass. So instead of like a power harrow goes round like this, and a rotor spike goes the other way, so it goes over. And you can sort of one pass stuff with it, which does a pretty good job, and then roller drill it, which would tidy this paddock up real well, because it is a little bit sort of hollowy through here. There's a few dips and stuff down by that tree. Wouldn't be a bad idea, I reckon. Wow, it's definitely pretty dry, eh? Look at all the dust. Unreal. Shouldn't be like that at this time of the year. Ah well. Also put a bit of fertilizer on, which is our autumn fertilizer. So you can see these white dots here. It was just a DAP mixture. It's what was recommended to use. And it'll just get mixed up in the soil while this is getting planted. Sort of help the new annual along. This block through here, so the hedge there and then the hedge over there, we call this the deer block. There's 20 hectares over here, and this is the old sort of deer shed that's on it. Sort of home built by the guys that used to farm there. And well, that's just the race that led into the deer shed, but we really need to rip this down. The cows sort of come in here and eat the grass, but yeah. This winter I'm thinking might try and rip out this fence and this one, and then put a new sort of something to go from this post maybe around that beam there back over towards that strainer, something like that, and that would sort of tidy this area up. It'd make it easier planting because it's a pretty sharp corner just there, sort of make it a little bit smoother. And we'll go and have a look in here. I haven't been in this shed for a while. This is just where the deer came in, pen to work with. There's a pen here. And that's just the native stuff that Mum and Dad pulled out of their house, I think, when they renovated. Same thing again. So sort of like a crush where you could work with them, because if you go into here, I don't know, maybe, oh no, those are old bed boards. Yes, you could have stood here and work with your stags or whatever. And then just more pens, and then that was the race to load them out on a truck or whatever. They just run straight out there. And this is just some wood that got milled on the farm, some native timber, I think. That would have been probably 20 years ago. Just storage, or it's getting stored nice and dry. It's actually not a bad shed and it's pretty watertight, but we need to chop this tree down. We'll definitely give it a trim because it's sort of encroaching on the roof up there. Don't really want it to push through or break it. Curtis is getting through it, he hasn't got too much left. Nice paddock to drill, this one, just nice and rectangular. Look at the dust, unreal. All done. And we're going to put this chicory paddock into a perennial, which means it'll go into permanent pasture. So next year this will not be going back into chicory, which means we've got to calibrate the drill again. So it's just this paddock, and then the next ones we're going to be putting some other seed in as well, with something different. Trust the old Legion going back in too, like this stuff. So the last chicory paddock had been sprayed for about a week, or maybe just a little bit longer, whereas this one has been probably 2 weeks. So you can see it's quite a big difference, and it is pretty bare. See, the plants are actually dead, like there. And if you're wondering what happened with the trial site that they put in here with the chicory, I'm not really too sure. I did see them after they planted it once, and then I sort of didn't see them again. So they did say back then though that there were 2 new varieties that they put in, and I think they were going to go with one of them and market it. Maybe not next season, but it might be the season after. I think they did have a name for it too rather than a number, but I can't really remember what it is. It's something like that. It's another nice square paddock for him, so I'm going to leave him here. I'm going to go move these cows now, and then we'll catch up with him when he's done. Go on in. Go on, girls. Probably thinking, what, it's too early to go on the feed pad. They'll get there because they get underneath it and there'll be nothing on it. They'll be disappointed. But it's not quite your time. Can't smell anything. Where's my dinner? I don't want to go out that gate. Looks like he's just finishing up. You can see all the dust through there. A couple more passes and catch up with them again. And then after today, that is pretty much all the drilling done except for this paddock in here. So this chicory, this needs to go into a perennial. Dad sprayed it yesterday, so everything should sort of die in about a week. And usually I would put that in an annual through the winter because that was its first year in chicory, whereas that one over there, which he's just finished, was its second year, so it goes into a perennial, sort of on a 2-year rotation. But if you look at this paddock here, it's just so bare through here. You can just see big brown patches. Well, this is, I think, was in chicory about 3 years ago, so this is a 3rd year new grass, and just the summer has really taken its toll on it. So I'm going to put this back into chicory next year, just try and get a little bit more feed by sort of renewing pasture like this. This is a paddock that I haven't cropped before or planted chicory or anything like that, but it really needs undersowing too, like it's a little bit shot. But yeah, I don't know, you can't do the whole farm. And this is exactly the same here. This paddock, it was in chicory about 3 years ago, and just the dry summer has really taken its toll. Like, it's just so brown. Like, look at that, nothing's really growing. Just big patches of weeds, really. See that summer grass through there. So what I'm gonna do is I am just going to undersow this stuff, which is Winter Star. It's just an annual, like a short-term annual, so it's real good, or got good growth rates for about 6 months, which should help bulk up a little bit of feed through the winter, or give me a little bit more, and then this will just go into chicory next year. So sort of a year ahead of where it should be, but just got to do it really, because there's nothing here, and the cows are in here probably about a week ago, so not much has regrown. Recalibrating, because it is like another different brand of seed. So it'll be interesting to see how close it is to that last stuff. Like the last stuff was treated, so is this. Was it far out? Sweet as.
Better be safe than sorry.
Yeah, exactly, better be safe. And I'm putting this in at 18 kilos because it's sort of getting undersown, so some of this grass will regrow again, and clover and stuff like that. I was told that you can go sort of between 15 kilos and 18, and I thought I'd like to be on the sort of heavier end to it, because there's not a lot here, as you can see from behind me. This paddock's not quite as nice as the other ones. It is a little bit hilly, but not too bad. A little bit greener down on the flats there too, where it's just a little bit wetter. But I might as well try and grow a little bit more feed through the winter this way. Never done it before, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Plus I'm sort of thinking too with this annual, at least I can sort of carve on it, and if I did happen to make a mess, it's not so bad because it's going into a crop. And if I do get too much and this grows like stink, I could probably bale this stuff in the spring. Just down in these other 2 paddocks, Curtis has actually just turned up too. Oh, remember there was that tree that fell down there, so we cleared that up the other day. There's a big stump, I took that away. It's looking pretty good. There was a pile over there too, so paddock's looking pretty clean. Just sort of walking along and kicking this irrigated drag hose up against the fence so he just doesn't hit it. There was also some big patches of thistles in this paddock. You can sort of see one just over here. Dad just bought the roadside topper over the other day, and he just shot around and sort of cut these patches, so it looks pretty good now. Give this grass a good chance to grow up through it. These trees are really nice down here, but they do make a heck of a mess. So see all these, I do have a heap of prickly pear, need to pull all this stuff out. But see all these balls here, look like sort of apples. They're actually walnuts, black walnuts I think, everywhere. But again, just look at this, it's just weeds, eh? There's not much grass in these paddocks, so might as well bite the bullet. Get some good growth through winter by putting it in, and actually have some feed, or try and get some feed surplus for the spring. So I have decided I'm going to rip this fence out come May's time. The reason I haven't done it now when I was going to drill this was just that it is handy having power here for when we break feeding cattle through the winter. But once, or just before I'll probably put it in a maze, I'll pull it out, and then this sort of opens up this paddock a bit more, especially with those trees there. It's probably not the best paddock because there are sort of a few trees we got to miss. Should really cut that one down too. It's not really doing much, and it's a bit of a pain out in the middle like that. Man, that drill does a good job, look at that. Looks unreal, but pretty excited to see how these paddocks go once we get some rain, fingers crossed. And another new grass paddock here, so this is pretty weedy, but this one was pretty weedy to start off with. Just heaps of docks, and I think I'm going to spray it before I put it in permanent next year, so Guess we're going to a permanent paddock, which I probably don't really want to work up again after that. Bristle grass around the edges. But yeah, like I said, once it gets watered, it'll just jump out of the ground. It'll start growing like stink. It's just such a still day. There's no wind or anything. Nothing's moving. Just real settled. But he's finished over there, which is quite good because I did see him checking his hopper a couple of times, which I thought he might be running out of seed, but he must have got it done. Well, it turns out there was a little bit of seed left over. Not much though, so perfect amount. Google Earth worked. It's usually what I map all my paddocks on. But I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. That'll pretty much wrap it up. So I did just watch a little bit of a weather forecast. I don't know why, but there's no rain on the forecast for at least another week. So I don't know, maybe there won't be enough moisture in the soil to get it sort of germinated. Usually once you put it in, it'll come up, but just sit there. So be interesting to see what happens when it does. It's still nice and warm at the moment, so if we did get some rain, at least it is going to grow, which is what we need. But apart from that, see you next time. I did also do a bit of a photo shoot the other day for Corson, and I've gone out in the flyer, so you might see me in your mailbox if you're in New Zealand. I have a few pictures already from people sending me to say that they've got it. I also forgot to say too, but that's the tree that was over in that paddock. I cut it up and then brought it over here for chopping up for firewood.